Lookman, will he shoot? Still with Lookman! The perfect parting gift before jetting off to the African Cup of Nations with Nigeria.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 106 and we're your hosts Jake
and Matt,
here to bring you all the events of Matchday 18 in Serie A.
Not without wishing all of you a very, very happy new year, huh?
Yes, 2024, bro. Have you had to use Tipex yet at work?
I don't use Tipex at work.
Do you use pens?
Well, just for my notes, but when I get them wrong, I just scribble it off, you know? Yeah. I'm a highlight my completed tasks kind of guy.
I've never been about that life, personally. No. I've always, to be honest, I've never been about Tipex either. I just cross things off, but yeah.
Fuck Tipex. Who the hell uses Tipex? Tipex is weird.
You have to make mistakes to use Tipex.
Yeah, we don't make mistakes.
Exactly.
Our goal of the week, this might have been a mistake.
This was probably a mistake. We actually disagreed for a bit on this. First of all, the goals this week were not brilliant.
There weren't many goals, and the goals that took place weren't great.
Yeah, I mean, there was Lookman's and Chuana's.
Yeah.
And they were very similar.
They are very identical. I think Lookman's dribble was a little bit saucier, a little bit more refined. Even the finish had less of a bubble to the shot. I think it was cleaner. But Chuana, I almost wanted to give it to him because of the stage, no? In a relegation battle.
It's a relegation 6-pointer, and he single-handedly kept Salernitana alive with a moment of brilliance. So.
Yeah, he still had so much to do with that, man. Obviously, Pajero had a great goal, a volley for Udinese and a massive 3-0 victory over Bologna. Who the fuck would have thought, like?
Yeah, and he was volleying it all game, bro.
Yeah, man, he's been playing really well since that red card. He's really stepped it up. He's been having it from everywhere.
And Rabiot, obviously, as well.
The reason we didn't pick Pajero is because the ball fell to him. And he was placed in the right place at the right time, kind of thing.
And the shot was kind of central as well.
Yeah. But very powerful. Rabiot's goal obviously gave, Juve the victory over a pragmatic and tough opponent in Roma. The build-up play, the backheel ball by Vlahovic was brilliant. Was a bit messy in the build-up to that. And then the finish at the near post, I do think Rui Patricio could have done a little bit better.
Absolutely. I think it's between Lookman and Chuana, and I think Lookman's was, as you said, the more refined goal. Chuana's would be special because of the stage, of course. Please let us know below. Vote on the poll or drop your opinion in the comments, please.
Yeah, while you're at it, obviously, like, follow, rate, date, chat. This is my favorite thing to do now. I don't know if you guys remember the era on Facebook. Me and Jake certainly remember it. When someone would post like this, and I'll post what I think on your wall. And then there's at the bottom there's rate, date, and chat. And you will rate the person.
Yeah.
You write yes or no if you date the person. And then chat, you're like, yeah, I'll chat, or no, I won't chat.
You'd
but that
see
was
some people get absolutely destroyed, bro, on their walls. It's like rating 4. Like, what the hell? Be nice.
What I do? There was one best feature, and they'd give me hair. Yeah. What the
I got
hell?
that once as well. Me now.
Remember, my hair was like a toothbrush back then. I don't know why they would choose hair. But anyway, that's enough about our trauma and our, maybe a little bit about what we enjoyed doing on Facebook at a younger age. There was the Coppa Italia. There still is the Coppa Italia going on right now as we're recording.
Yeah, Atalanta are currently beating Sassuolo 2-0, 2 goals from CDK.
Who the fuck would have thought, huh?
Yeah,
new year, new CDK.
Even blew the fans a kiss after the first one. That's a confident lad, alright.
I mean, brother, it's friggin' Wednesday. Right, and the stadium is packed with Atalanta fans.
Milan's playing in the Champions League, man.
Milan's yesterday wasn't even packed, but Milan did have a great victory yesterday, 4-1 against Cagliari, fielding 4 18-year-olds. He scored. Chaka Traore scored the third goal. Jovic scored the opening 2. Then Leao came on and also scored. But man, oh man, was I blown away by Milan's new left back in Jimenez, man.
He was incredible. I would have never guessed that was his professional debut. He was outstanding.
Real Madrid, the factory of these left backs. Please keep them coming, man.
Yeah, they have a buyback on all of them. But whatever, this guy is super. I mean,
Finally, a vice for Theo.
Yeah, I think he's ready. Honestly,
bro,
his performance left nothing to be desired. He had everything.
Make any mistakes.
It's true.
He made no, and he was. It's not like he played it safe the entire time. He was being risky.
Yeah,
you know. He's a very saucy. A lot of Theo Hernandez.
A lot of Theo Hernandez. And he looks like Salamakers, by the way.
He is Salamakers.
Yeah.
He essentially is Salamakers.
But yeah, we also have Patreon, guys, and we have a new patron. Thank you, Tim. And this is a new thing that we're going to be doing, guys. Every time we get a new patron, a new subscriber, we're going to be blasting that song.
I mean, it's party time. No one will get a new patron.
Yeah, bro. But first... No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you to everyone in the family. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Alan, Andy, Lena, Jose, Luke, Mike, Matteo, Matthias, Luca, Anthony, Michael, David, Kyle, Andrew, Slooge McNoodle, and finally, Tim Warner, our latest family member. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the Spotheads.
Yep, we appreciate the way in which you signed up as well. I believe he told us, fuck you, I'm becoming a patron.
Fuck you guys, I'm signing up.
So we appreciate you, brother. That song was for you. If you guys become a patron, we'll have a song for you as well.
We've got one more announcement before the rundown.
Yes, we do. Keep your eyes peeled on our Instagram as we're launching our first ever giveaway in collaboration with the very talented Embroidered Malta.
Yes, we're giving away an exclusive all-black Serie A Spotlight sweater with our logo beautifully embroidered on the top left.
Check out our Instagram where you'll find the giveaway post including images of the sweater and all the steps to enter.
Follow these steps and you'll be in a good chance to win. The winner will be announced on Thursday, the 18th of January on our Instagram.
Shout out to Embroidered Malta for their fantastic work. Do check them out on Instagram at embroidered_Malta and maybe even get yourself a custom embroidered sweater. You're certainly in good hands.
So without further ado, guys, let's get to the rundown.
Yes, we're going to start things off with the staple match of this weekend where Juve beat Roma 1-0, which was great news for them because league leaders Inter suffered an away draw to Genoa with the score of 1-1, meaning that gap is narrowed down to 2. Milan got past Sassuolo with 1-0. It wasn't pretty, but that is the result Milan so desperately needed. Napoli drew 0-0 to Monza where Meret saved a dreadful penalty by Pessina and then went off injured. Udinese shocked the Serie A after they beat Bologna 3-0. Absolutely no one was expecting a stellar performance by Udinese and the manner in which they managed to pull that off. Fiorentina won Torino 0 thanks to a late Ranieri header. Atalanta won Lecce 0 thanks to our goal of the week by Ademola Lookman before he is off to the African Cup of Nations. Lazio 3, Frosinone 1. What a second half by Lazio and what a second half by Tati Castellanos. Verona 0, Salernitana 1, where Chuana got a great goal and Salernitana won a relegation 6-pointer. Massive for them, especially since they were in last place. And another relegation 6-pointer, Cagliari 0, Empoli 0.
Yeah, this week was a low-scoring affair. First of all, the games happened so quickly across Friday and Saturday, and that's it, boom, match day over. It was a blur, to be honest, passed so quickly.
Yeah.
And now we're halfway through the season. We're exactly at the halfway point of the season, so it's do or die for most of these teams. So Salernitana, for example, had to win this game.
Yeah,
they had to win this game to remain relevant.
Like, if you're still on a slow start now, it's not just a slow start. You're having a bad season. Yeah. If you're off to a good start, you're having a good season. Everything that happens from here on out is pivotal for the final outcome of this season of Serie A.
Absolutely, man. Should we jump into the action with Juventus-Roma?
Yep, Juve won, Roma 0 to start things off. Now, since Inter had dropped 2 points against Genoa earlier in the weekend, this was a great opportunity for Juve to narrow the gap at the top of the table heading into 2024. But they faced a Roma side who are coming off a strong 2-0 victory over Napoli. On the other hand, it was also a good opportunity for Roma to go level on points with 5th place Bologna, who had just lost to Udinese. Dybala returned from injury to face his former club along with Leonardo Paredes. not many people remember Paredes at Juve because he didn't get much playing time. Smalling, Abraham and Kumbulla were still out of action due to injury for Roma. As for Juve, Cambiaso, Pogba and Fagioli were suspended, with Moise Kean, Alexandro and Mattia De Sciglio out injured. Federico Chiesa was not at 100%, so teenage sensation Kenan Yildiz again started, this time with Dusan Vlahovic and the returning Timothy Weah on the right-hand side. Now the game started aggressively and it started quickly. In the 4th minute, Cristante's powerful volley from inside the area deflected off of Vlahovic and struck the post for the first close call of the game. In the 19th minute, Mancini denied Vlahovic with an excellent sliding block after the Serbian was through on goal after out-muscling Llorente on the turn. That is the Vlahovic we know, the one
Absolutely.
that could, on the turn, just out-muscle the defender and end up clean through on goal. But Mancini was excellent over there. 31st minute, Dybala's strike with his left foot skimmed just wide of Szczesny's far post. In the 42nd minute, a super long throw into the box by McKennie fell to Kostic, who volleyed it very well and very cleanly. He had Patricio beaten, but Ndika ran onto the line and headed the ball off the line amazingly.
What a clearance. What a goal line clearance, man.
He saw that the shot was going to get past Patricio. He sprinted onto the line and he headed it off. It's not like he was placed there,
You have to be mental to put your head in front of a shot like that.
A Kostic volley from point blank.
He must have had a speech impediment after that for a while,
In the 47th minute, just after half-time, Rabiot opened the scoring with a clean finish into Patricio's near corner after a lovely back heel flick assist by Dusan Vlahovic. It was taken to VAR, but VAR footage showed this was extremely tight, but the Frenchman was just onside. In the 83rd minute, Chiesa broke forward well and squared a dangerous pass to McKennie, but his centre strike was denied by Patricio. And later on, Chiesa had the ball in the net on 88 minutes, but it was ruled offside because the block on a Samuel Illing Jr. shot did not qualify as a pass, so it was not enough to get him onside again. Alright, so how predictable was Juve 1, Roma 0 as a result coming into this?
Incredibly predictable. It was going to be 1-0 for either one of them or 0-0, right?
Yeah.
That was it. The two most pragmatic teams in the top 7 coming face to face against each other. Very, it was a weird game though. It was so punchy. I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was cagey.
It wasn't.
I heard someone describe it as a cagey affair, but both teams were in it. The thing is, Juve wanted Roma to have the ball, and Roma wanted Juve to have the ball.
Yeah.
I think there was a slight mistake in Roma's approach, because Juve being the home team, you would anticipate that their game plan was going to be the one that was going to be pulled off to a more effective kind of degree. So if Juve at home want you to have the ball, you're probably going to have the fucking ball. Yeah. Plus, Juve have been better than Roma throughout the season. So I think Roma were a bit overconfident in the fact that they said, let's go in with the midfield of Cristante, Paredes and Bove. And so that we could defend and so that we can hold back.
And disrupt.
Instead of playing someone like Pellegrini in midfield, who just got a goal against Napoli on a big stage, because you're going to need someone creative because you're going to have a lot more of the ball. So I don't feel like Roma really prepared for the team that they had in front of them. I don't know if you agree with that.
But I guess you never know what your opponent's gonna do, right? In a situation like this, are Juve going to change their approach? Like Allegri and Mourinho would have been thinking the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Are they gonna let us have the ball? And you never quite know what the other team is gonna do. I think what you need to do is put your best 11 out there. The team that's gonna get you. The team that can get you goals, man. Because I do agree that the setup is very defensive by Roma. And to be honest with you, I think Roma would have settled for a draw over here.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think approach-wise, not much would have changed. If they know they were going to have the ball more often than not. Mm-hmm. He would have probably still lined up with Bove, Paredes and Cristante. But I was impressed though. The game was very entertaining.
Yeah, no, it was entertaining. I do think that the deciding factor in this game, despite not getting a goal, I got an assist. Dusan Vlahovic, how good was Vlahovic in this game? His work ethic, his strength, his pace, the way he turned the pace like no other, and just his involvement throughout the entire game.
He was a menace, man. He was powerful. He was determined. You know, he was a handful for that back three. And at one point, he even had Diego Llorente on the floor rolling around, and he even mocked him. He did the whole wah wah wah, rubbing tears off his eyes, like
little baby. Wah.
No goal for him, but that assist is brilliant, right? Arnautovic-esque, we can say.
Exactly. He had a bicycle. He had a bicycle kick attempt for an assist. I think Vlahovic. He was just confident. He was still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had a fantastic game. I think a massive deciding factor as to naturally why Juve won this game. If you look at Juve defensively, that back three, the way that it was able to just neutralize the dangerous Dybala and Lukaku. So, firstly, you know what Juve do. They got that goal in the 47th minute, and then they took a very defensive approach like Roma, have the ball.
Yeah.
Dangerous, because there's Dybala and Lukaku, which as a combination, you can have someone that gets you a goal out of nothing, and then you have that poacher in the box with that strength who can give someone a layoff. They can just be so creative with those two and so dangerous with those two. But more than anyone, Gilson Bremer, bro.
What a tank,
He fucking had Lukaku in his pocket for the entire game. Lukaku didn't get a single sniff with Bremer. I think Bremer had a slow start to the season, but his performances recently have just been... I said he had a slow start. He was out injured, though, for a while. Since he's been back, he's been fantastic for you.
I don't think he put a foot wrong this game, man.
Literally.
Honestly, he had Lukaku in his pocket, and he's pocketed some of the finest this season. You know, he had Leao in a chokehold. He had Osimhen as well in a chokehold. He's been super. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, centre back in the league, and there's a reason he won MVP for defenders in Serie A when he was back at Torino.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is that fucking just the anchor for Juve. Him and Danilo. Gatti does get that kind of freedom to go up because we know he can get you a late goal, but there was absolutely none of that in this game because Juve had a clear game plan. It's get that goal and just stick back. Again, very dangerous decision by Allegri with Roma's ability to have that firepower.
It's almost like he tells the opposition, score, I dare you.
Yeah.
You know, like come, try to score on us, you know. And the thing is, you look at the back line of Juve and you look at Szczesny, man, they trust each other so much. Yeah. So even like if someone goes to take a long range shot, you know, that's the only way you're really going to challenge Szczesny unless you have a set piece. They trust Szczesny in goal, you know, he's just going to collect it, no problem. He's a fantastic goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, and he had a decent game. I believe Roma had 4 shots on target, so Szczesny had to be responsible for those 4 saves. Yeah. I think if we look at the other side, without obviously not ignoring any other performances by Juve, I think Yildiz had a decent performance as well, especially considering it's his second or third start.
His second start, and even that midfield 3 man of McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot. Mm-hmm. They're tough, man. They're tough
Shout
guys,
out McKennie because he's been very, very good, and who knew he had that throw in his locker, that long throw.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt, do you think Rabiot starts anywhere he goes in the world?
Does Rabiot start? Probably not anywhere in the world because...
Like would he start at City?
I think more yes than no. He'll start at most places, Rabiot. Because he's got everything.
He'll be in contention for a starting place wherever he goes, I think.
Literally.
Because he's an all-rounder and he's determined, he's hard-working, very technical, he can score, he can defend, he wins his duels, he covers a lot of ground, man. He's a beast, you know.
He's a monster, man, Rabiot. Absolutely. I think you might be right over there, bro. And keep in mind how highly rated this guy was in his early years at PSG as a teenager. Yeah. The entire world wanted him. Real Madrid wanted him. Barcelona wanted him. He ended up going to Juve. It took him a while to adapt to the league. But once he adapted, wow, man.
Yeah, and he adapted as his contract was running out.
Yeah, so. He was off. He was off to United, bro. Yeah. He was off to United.
So all the Juve fans were like, oh my god, he's just playing well to get a renewal. They renewed him. They're like, no, what are we doing? He continued playing well, which is they're super happy about.
I'll never forget.
He's 28 years old nowadays, of course. He's in his prime.
Yeah. And he's our episode artwork for
if you didn't recognize him.
Yeah. If you thought he was someone else. But yeah, great performance as well by him, Rabiot. Looking over at Roma, I think what we said earlier kind of sums up Roma. I think it was the factor of the decision making going into this game. Did Roma lose this game before the game even started? Because they were going in for an approach which isn't going to hold well against a side like Juve. At least Juve showed that they have the bigger dick in this contest. Just to highlight Evan Ndika and Evan Ndika's performance, particularly in this match. Not because he had the goal line clearance, but just his involvement all round. The fact that I don't believe he lost a single duel.
No, he won them all, in fact. Yeah. He had 94% accurate passes as well, 95 touches. He was very involved. He pushed upfield. He was confident. I think he was probably the best defender for Roma this day, and they played all right, you know.
Yeah, you'll see that in this match. If you guys look at the heat map, obviously you'll see that all three of the centre backs were placed quite high up the field.
Yeah,
but that's because Juve weren't attacking and Roma were just piling everyone forward and playing the ball around. But Gianluca Mancini getting forward and Ndika getting forward, and then Llorente being that last man, you know, on the spot of the center midfield. But I do feel like they left a lot to be desired, Roma, simply because they were shut off by a very effective Juve side.
Yeah, it's weird. The approach would have been, as we often say over here, you know, we could have easily ended up praising Mourinho's approach over here. Let's say that Brian Cristante's shot went in earlier on in the first half when he struck the post and they held back and they didn't concede for the rest of the game, you know what I mean? Or they conceded one later and it finished 1-1. Would have been like, Roma put up a fight here, they approached the game well. The fact that they didn't really manage to get the ball over the line really fucks them. I mean, it's a simple thing, it's an obvious thing, but that's what it is. Juve are a side that pretty much mirror Roma, but they're better at what they do. They're better at what they do, and they have better quality. Not to mention, okay, it's true, Roma have Lukaku and Dybala. Fair enough, two very good players. But let's say that Lukaku is new. Let's not forget that Lukaku is new, and that Dybala is fucking playing game in, game out with his injury. It's always a little problem. So I don't think he's ever fully fit. Whereas on Juve, you've got Rabiot, who's, as we discussed, pretty much a world beater. You've got Vlahovic, who, let's not forget, is a top striker, you know. You've got the likes of Chiesa coming off the bench who can do a lot of damage.
Especially when Roma were placed so high up the field and Chiesa came on, he was breaking through those lines.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, who's going to do that? Spinazzola, you know? Zalewski, they don't really have anyone to do that. What Roma players offers a lot of industry. You look at Cristante, Paredes, Christensen, Bove, Zalewski, like those five guys. They're not the most technical guys in the world at all. But they're going to work. And I think that was the plan here.
Yeah.
Try to hold back, defend with everyone except for Dybala and Lukaku. And then try to hit them on the break with Dybala and Lukaku.
In fact, I think what you're saying is exactly why Zalewski is being favoured over Spinazzola. Because if you were to tell me 2 years ago that this kid Zalewski is going to bench Spinazzola against Juve for Roma, I'll tell you, you're crazy. But Spinazzola, because he's more of an offensive player, and maybe because of his problems with injury, he doesn't offer you that, you know, going forward and tracking back and going forward and tracking back. I feel like Mourinho, is using Zalewski for his legs more than anything. That fucking work ethic, the fact that he's a horse down that left-hand side. I think Spinazzola's tidier, but Zalewski's more of a Mourinho kind of player. But I think that's pretty much it when it comes to this game. Again, obviously a pragmatic approach by both teams, so I think you all expected this outcome. Juve are in second now, just 2 points behind Inter, whilst Roma are in 7th place on 28 points. They are just 5 points behind Fiorentina in 4th.
Yeah, you mentioned that Inter are still leading. However, they did slip up. They drew 1-1 to Genoa away from home. They were missing key players like Lautaro and Di Marco, and they faced a Genoa side managed by Alberto Gilardino, of course, who mirrored their setup with a 3-5-2 formation. I love, by the way, when smaller teams do this.
Hey,
know, they just mirror your formation. They go man for man. They play a strong 11, and you just have a hard time playing, quite frankly. For Genoa's lineup, it was Ekuban and Gudmundsson starting up front together, and everything else was pretty much business as usual, with Aaron Martin out on the left, Kevin Struttman in the middle, etc., etc. For Inter, it was Arnautovic and Carlos Augusto stepping in for Di Marco and Lautaro.
Yeah.
The match began with Inter pressing and attacking, but there was actually a funny interruption caused by smoke flares from Genoa fans earlier on in the game, and this delayed the game by nearly 10 minutes. This happened about like literally 10 minutes into the game. And it did throw Inter off a little bit, because Inter started way better before this whole situation happened than they continued in that half.
The 12th man, am I right?
Yeah. Despite the interruption, Inter managed to take the lead through Arnautovic, who capitalized on a deflected ball from Barella's shot, which came off the post, scoring his first Serie A goal of the season. However, there was a bit of controversy around this goal, as Bissek did seem to push Struttman in a header that led up to the goal. The referee did not consult VAR, however.
I always find it strange when they don't check VAR.
Yeah,
because that's why it's there. Like, go check it out. Now, there's that thing that is the contact significant, and then if it's an argument of whether or not the contact was significant, it's typically the look that the referee had that should count, because he saw it in real time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think he should have gone to the monitor, though. It seemed like a pretty bad push. Not pretty bad. I mean, it wasn't a crazy bad push, but it was a shove. Exactly, a shove in the box.
I have no opinion.
Yeah. Just before the halftime whistle, Genoa did actually equalize through Dragusin. Dragonara.
Dragus in or Dragus out, am I right?
Dragus hopefully in, dude.
Dragus hopefully fucking in is one of my favourite centre-backs.
I know, God forbid he goes to Spurs. He beat Carlos Augusto and Acerbi to head the ball into the back of the net off of Sommer to conclude the first half at 1-1. He's brilliant in the air, man.
He's proven to be that guy that you could ping a ball to, and he is that centre back in a back three that really, really gets forward and pushes forward for this team. And man, Gudmundsson and Ekuban, great up front. Obviously, we know how good particularly Gudmundsson is. We know Caleb's hold-up play has been better. Mm-hmm. Yes, I just refer to Ekuban as Caleb. That's hilarious. But imagine you're facing that front two, and then for an aerial threat, you've got Dragusin sprinting in as the last man.
And he's particularly dangerous as well on set pieces. All of their set pieces involve the simple technique or tactic of crossing the ball to Dragusin.
And he's typically so, like, he's beyond the far post to the point that if anyone goes to mark him, they're out of position, and he'll stretch the lines.
Yeah.
So no one typically marks him. And then when the ball is going to him, everyone's like, oh shit.
And he'll volley it like a striker, Yeah, there are talks that he might be off to Spurs, but apparently Napoli are interested as well, and they're offering 20 million and Ostigard. I really hope that happens. So at least he stays in the league. Yeah.
That'd be good. I would love to, as much as I love having a beast like that at a newly promoted team, which I have a strong soft spot for. Let's see him at one of these big teams. He's Scuola Juve. This guy's a professional. He can be very, very good. He's still so young. I believe he's 21. Am I going nuts?
21, yes, man.
21 years old.
It's crazy how young he is. He plays like a veteran player.
Yeah.
But anyway, off to the second half we go. Genoa continued to push in the second half. Their energetic play, led by Goodmanson's pace and Ekuban's physical presence, of course, tested Inter's defence. Inter tried feeding the ball to Arnautovic, but they really struggled to pick him out due to resolute defending by Genoa, bro. They were tighter than...
Tighter than what, dog?
Let's just leave it at that.
It was tight.
It was tight. It was really tight, bro. Gilardino made strategic substitutions, of course, to try to actually push for a winner. That's why I respect Genoa, and they've come such a long way from that Genoa we saw that got relegated a few years back, man. Because this guy brought on Retegui and Malinovsky to push for the win against Inter, who are dominating the league.
But because I think we're starting to find out, and there's a bit of a trend in football right now, that the progressive teams are the more successful ones, man.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Well, however, there are certain teams that do defy that point, like Juve, who are literally the probably second closest team to being in the closest team to being in contention for the title, other than Inter, of course.
Yeah,
but of course, positivity is a trend in Italy. It's a new kind of movement.
Not only in Italy, though. You look at Klopp's Liverpool in their finest hour. You look at Spalletti's Napoli in their finest hour. You look at City. You know what I mean? These are all super, super offensive teams. And you look at Frosinone, and you look at Genoa, and you look at the success these teams are having, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend, and it's proving to be a successful one. Inzaghi did run out of options on the bench. He brought on Sanchez and Dumfries to try to cook something up. Despite their efforts, of course, the match ended in a deadlock, disappointing both Inter and Juventus, who hope for different outcomes for the title race, of course.
Yeah.
So, bro, let's talk about Arnautovic a little bit. So he got a lovely assist last week, and then this week he scored this goal, right?
Yeah.
He scored a goal in the Champions League, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Do you think that Inter should bring another striker in January?
I mean, I'd say yes, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot by bringing in Sanchez in addition to the Arnautovic signing, which is obviously the depth that maybe they needed. But now they're struggling in the absence of Lautaro Martinez. I think teams like Milan and Inter are proving that the more choices you have, the better, because you never know when a plague is going to come about and kill your entire squad. I think they do need more quality up front other than those two, because we're seeing Arnautovic and he doesn't have the same approach that Lautaro has, which Lautaro is a massive factor that links the midfield to that attack and allows Thuram a lot of freedom up front to be that pinpoint kind of striker. When you get Arnautovic, you lose some legs, and it's like you've got, it's like in Milan terms, it's like you've got Jovic and Giroud up front. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then Sanchez, I don't really have an opinion because we haven't seen him in so long. We know what he's capable of, but I think he's past it. I don't think he's the solution.
I think it might be a fitness issue at this point, because he's a very good player, and if he's fit, he'd definitely be getting more minutes. You look at some situations like this game, they really needed him. They really needed a spark off the bench. And let's not get it twisted. It's not just the fact that Lautaro was missing. It's the fact that Di Marco was missing. Di Marco is a massive outlet for them. He can advance the ball from the midfield, get it into the box from literally anywhere on the pitch.
Imagine Arnautovic, how much better it'd be with Di Marco on the pitch, especially with his aerial threat.
In fact, that was most of the struggle. They couldn't get the ball to Arnautovic. But his attempts were all on loose balls from deflections or spilled balls, basically.
Yeah.
I do think, though, they are in dire need of another striker, because if you look at, it's only going to get harder for Inter. Inter have Champions League games coming. They have they don't have Coppa Italia games. They have Champions League games coming, and they're going to be big games because these guys were finalists last year and they're going to want to go far. So far, we've seen them prioritize the league and sacrificing literally the top spot in Champions League, finishing second. And now they have a tougher run in. But when these games come in hot and heavy, they're going to have to start resting players in the league. And eventually, when you're resting Di Marco and Arnautovic, are these guys going to cut it? More often than not, these players have demonstrated that they're good enough to get Inter over the line. But will that be the case until the end of the season? You can never tell. We've seen teams at this point with a notable advantage in the table, particularly Milan, winter champions. Lazio in the COVID season. We're doing very well. And then all of a sudden they hit a poor run of form and they throw it away, when they end up winning nothing, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So
it can happen.
It can
especially
totally
with
happen.
another competition. And like you're saying, it's a competition where you require your 11 best players.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be situations where you're going to have a tough run-in with a European opponent, and then straight after that, you're going to have a tough run-in with a local opponent.
Yeah.
These are things that's going to happen. And as the season progresses, now I still think Inter are going to win the league, right? But as the season progresses, there's also going to, even though it's tight, there's also going to be teams that are getting better. These teams that are in the relegation zone now, the Salernitanas, the Hellas Veronas, when they're fighting for survival, they're going to be some of the toughest opponents you can face, man.
Yeah,
There comes a point from Matchday 30 onwards, everyone's a fucking tough draw, man. Everyone. The mid-table teams are the easiest.
You're right, man. So far, when it comes to Inter's moves in the market, they've brought in Tyon Buchanan from Club Brugge,
Yep.
who seems to operate as a right midfielder or a right defender. I assume he'll be the one replacing Dumfries, who seems to be on his way out, and Cuadrado, who's not really always available. Regarding the game, by the way, I was very impressed with Stefano Sabelli's performance.
Yep.
He won his duel with Carlos Augusto and pretty much destroyed him all game. He was always one step ahead of him.
No, we saw Inter lose the wing battles in this game,
Yeah.
which isn't something we're typically used to seeing.
Because they pressed high, man. They pressed high, and it wasn't Di Marco, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Hakan, I felt, had a bit of an off game. He was ineffective at creating. He tried to operate right behind the strikers to try to play them through, but he struggled to do so.
Yeah, I think when a team is struggling because of press, the midfielders are obviously going to be the ones that struggle the most. Now, we've already discussed how Hakan isn't the most press-resistant midfielder in the league, and I think yet again that was exposed. Look, if you were to ask me who's been the best defensive midfielder so far this season, it's a no-brainer that it's been Hakan Çalhanoğlu. But I do think that these past 3-4 games, where he hasn't been banging in penalties, and kind of it's like a cheat code, no scoring all those penalties. It puts your value up so much. I think he has still a lot to work on. And I think they are missing Brozovic.
They are, no, of course. I don't think that Çalhanoğlu filled the void entirely. I mean, Brozovic was just so complete as a player, man.
Mm-hmm.
And in that role, man, he had nothing missing, he could do it all. Not to mention his toughness and his industry.
They love him in Saudi Arabia. Have you seen the boom thing
What's
that
the
they
boom
do?
thing?
Bro, they'll be holding up. So the entire stadium of Al Nasser, they'll be holding up not the tifos, but around the entire stadium, it's a grenade. And then Brozovic pretends to grab the grenade off his neck. He throws it in the air, and they all pull up another tifo, and it's an explosion. And they all go BOOM!
You're joking.
I swear to God, it's crazy. But I've done it once for sure. I don't know if it's something they do week in, week out. But there's a viral clip of it, and Ronaldo's looking at him like, wow, I kind of want that.
He's not jealous.
I mean, he's got his sue,
Yeah. He's
My
going
God,
to sue,
Jake and I might go to Madeira with the Gyaldems, and if we go to Madeira, I'm gonna spend the entire time suing, man. I'm not gonna stop suing.
Suing. I show speed, no? Cristiano Ronaldo suing.
Shout out speed.
Yeah, because he needs one. Genoa this season have held Napoli, Inter, Juve, and destroyed Roma. Not a bad return for them. They have impressed me, and their only rough patch, in my opinion, was when they had that injury crisis that really only affected their best players. It was uncanny.
Mm-hmm. But mind, these guys have got Tretegui out,
Yeah.
They're doing just fine.
He's coming back in slowly, but he was injured for quite a while. But Inter are in first place with 45 points, while Genoa find themselves in 12th place with 20 points.
Milan 1, Sassuolo 0, brother. Milan's fucking injury crisis has significantly intensified with Fikayo Tomori out injured now, along with Yunus Musa, Malik Chow, Pierre Kalulu, Noah Okafor, Marco Pellegrino, Tommaso Pobega, Mattia Caldara and Marco Sportiello, all out of action. Kier was the only fit senior centre-back, starting alongside Theo Hernandez, with Florenzi at left-back. Otherwise, to be honest, full strength.
Yeah.
Other than that defensive
Other than that disaster at the back.
Despite losing a leg, you're at full strength. The Nero Verde missed Vigna, Defrel, Rakic, and Boloka, but Berardi returned from his injury. However, he was unable to complete 90 minutes. Now, when you look at Milan and Sassuolo's last head-to-head matches, so before this 1-0 victory for Milan, last season Milan didn't beat Sassuolo. Milan lost 5-2 at home to Sassuolo when Tiramisu was in goal. Tatarusado. And they drew 0-0 the time before. The match before that, Milan won 3-0 at the Mappe, which is a historic event, because Milan won the league over there. And before that, Sassuolo beat Milan 3-1. Because Sassuolo, as we often refer to them, they are Robin Hood. They do like winning against big teams. And let me tell you what, these Milan teams are their favourite teams to play. They love a game against Inter.
Absolutely.
They love a game against Milan. Keep in mind, Sassuolo are the only team to have beaten Inter this season.
True. That's quite a claim to fame, huh?
Yeah, and they've just lost, they haven't won in 5 games in a row, and they're the only team that have beaten Inter. They're crazy, man. I can't put a finger on them. Reinders created a few chances for himself in the opening stages of the match, having a crack at goal, dribbling past a few players. It's Reinders' world, it's Reinders' midfield, and we're all just watching and observing. In the 23rd minute, Benacer got close with a strike from just outside the area, hitting the side netting after he beat 2 players. That's the Benacer I like to see, the Benacer. So, he could be Benacer, but he also could be Benacer. And when he has that ball and he's got people pressuring him and he's just fucking fidget spinning around them, that is Benacer, man.
I agree. It's Benacer.
Now he's off to the African Cup
He
of
played
Nations.
a brilliant game, reminded us exactly what we were missing, and then he left to AFCON.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And enjoy, dog. We'll be rooting for Algeria. Come on, Algeria. Will we be? Because there's also Morocco. I don't know.
There are quite a few. I haven't made my alliance yet.
I haven't made my alliance, but Benacer.
I like Algeria.
Benacer. In the 33rd minute, Berardi's Tira Aigira was tipped over the bar well by Magic Mike Manyan. In the 58th minute, Pulisic got the decisive goal for Milan, finishing off a brilliant through pass by Benacer, which Tresoldi got a touch to, and then Consigli got a touch to the finish as well by Pulisic. Not the cleanest, but Milan absolutely needed that, and it was a combination of 2 great actions by 2 great players. 6 goals and 4 assists for Chrissy P, who only missed 2 matches due to injury this season. So, you'll really, this is all my Chelsea fan friends, okay? You'll enjoy him, man, until his inevitable 4-month injury.
Let's relax, bro, because I feel like the news is breaking out right now. That he's just pulled up, His injury record is very concerning, but it's just nice to see that in Milan's squad, there's an option for that right-hand side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is something that Milan didn't have for a very long time, since Suso.
Yeah.
And Suso was quite one-dimensional as well. It's just crazy how nowadays it seems that Pulisic more often than not is being double-teamed, and Leao not sometimes, you know? That's wild to me. It seems that teams have realized that if they defend deep and tight enough, then Leao kind of isn't as effective.
Exactly, because he's running into a brick wall or he's having a crack from distance, which isn't his strongest point.
But then in these situations, Pulisic can be very slippery. So it's nice to have that outlet as well.
And Pulisic is also very refined. He is one of the most well-rounded players Milan have. He has very close ball control. His passing is excellent. His shooting is excellent. He tracks back, man. He's just a very refined professional, and he's still, 24 years of age, man. We forget that. And
In
so
fact, I'm fact checking that right now.
fact
It
check
doesn't
it right
sound
now.
right.
It's absolutely right, brother. Pulisic is 24 years old. And he's been
25.
20, it was just his birthday.
Maybe.
Definitely. Milan signed him when he was 24 years old.
That's wild.
I promise.
I would have guessed he was 26.
But let's give him his flowers. 6 goals, 4 assists this season, only 2 matches out. It's been a dream start to his life in Milan, man.
Absolutely. He's exceeded all my expectations, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Now, whilst I give props to the likes of Kier and Florenzi for showcasing their experience in this team, Pulisic for his goal, Jovic for his hold-up play when coming on, there's still naturally a concern with Milan, which is this infamous, it's being called the 5-0-5 formation. This tactical approach is an absolute disaster.
I don't get it.
And it rids Milan of any creativity whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't understand why this is a thing. I've been noticing it for a while.
You have been. You've been pulling out your phone and drawing dots for me. This is Milan's formation right now.
It's ridiculous because you have literally, it's a 5-0-5 is the best way to put it because there's no one in midfield. So it's like the 4 defenders. You have Benacer right between them, for example, driving or Reinders or Krunic, be who it is, whatever on the day, right? Whoever. And then you have just 5 men in a straight line up front along the opposition defense.
Yeah,
We've mentioned this on the podcast before.
With the defensive line up their asses. Like, what
exactly.
the
Like,
hell
how are you going to
doing?
build up play? Like, what's the plan here, Chief? Like, what are we doing?
I don't get
like,
it.
these players that are up front can't even win aerial duels. You know what I mean? They're kind of small, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Leao doesn't really have the grr to win a duel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Giroud can because he has the size, he has the strength, but he's kind of on the older side as well, and most defenses are tough enough to deal with him. Then you have the likes of like Pulisic, you have Chukwueze, like these guys aren't going to win you an aerial duel, and you put your men up like that. And then you insist that you have to play the ball down to Giroud to flick off to the midfielder to try to break him free. You're essentially wasting the wide players, and then it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. I don't see the logic in it. I much preferred Milan's approach in the Coppa Italia personally.
Yeah, I think so as well. The 5-0-5 has been this. It's been talked about in Italian media. Now speculation continues about Pioli's position. He was told that if he doesn't get maximum points against Sassuolo and Empoli, this is according to reports, if he doesn't get maximum points against Sassuolo and Empoli, then he's done for, right? And apparently, according to certain sources, there is a replacement lined up, which is not Conte, which is not Dionisi, which is not Thiago Motta, but it's former Frankfurt manager Oliver Glasner, reportedly in talks to replace him. Now, Oliver Glasner, his honors are basically runner-up in the DFB Pokal, right? And he won he won the Europa League for Frankfurt in 2021-2022, so it's good to see Milan are focusing on the Europa League. What do you make of that? Is sacking Pioli halfway through the season the way to go for Milan?
No, definitely not. Milan, objectives-wise, are on course. They had the group of death in the Champions League, which many people, didn't rule Milan out by any means, but it's still the group of death. It's still understandable if you finish third. You know what I mean? It was literally by one decision that favored PSG that shouldn't have, that led Milan to being in the Europa League and not in the Champions League. They're third despite all their injuries. You know, they have missing players. They have no defense. They're playing without a defense, so they're still third in the league, and they're still alive in the Coppa Italia and winning with their youngsters over there. the thing is, yes, structurally and tactically, there is a problem with the team,
to say the least.
To say, it's not that bad, and it's not pervasive. It's not always there. It's just this weird setup. I don't know why. I don't know how. I've never seen it quite work. I don't get it, but he seems to insist on it purely. I do want Milan to go for a new coach next season, but if you change manager halfway through the season, you better bring in a profile that's permanent. Don't bring in someone because he's the only guy available, then you're stuck with him.
We've seen the Uniteds and other teams do this caretaker manager for 6 months. Like United had done it with Ragnick, they had done it, I believe, with Van Gaal. So it's not sustainable. However, it can get an instant reaction out of players.
Yes, sure, okay, but how sustainable is that? You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say you bring in Abate goes in, he's like, I've been here, you know, starts shouting, riling everyone up. They go out and they score 3 goals. All right, granted. You think every time Abate shouts, they're gonna get riled up?
Yeah, he can shout all he wants when Milan are in the Derby della Madonnina against Inter. You know what I mean? Or facing Juve or Roma. These are the times you need someone with experience who has looked after the team. I'm in agreement with you there. I say, like, if you're going to line one up for the end of the season. If it gets to a point where Milan aren't going to get top 4, Milan are falling out of favour for top 4, and there are 10 games to go, perhaps hit the panic button and get in a caretaker manager to try get some motivation out of these players. Because to be honest, it does seem like the players aren't willing to die for Pioli like they were a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if you look at what's going on right now in the table, though Milan are building some distance between themselves and that 5th position, which by the end of the season might still get you a Champions League place. We haven't even addressed the growth decree.
Oh, that's true.
There are going to be basically, there are changes in tax laws that are going to affect Italian clubs negatively when it comes to bringing in foreign players. This will affect the number of foreign players that can be found in each team. If you look at the smaller teams right now, so the Hellas Veronas, the Salernitanas, they've got many foreigners simply because financially it's worth it because they don't have to pay as much tax on them. Now with this with this rule change, essentially this law change, teams are going to have to focus more on their youth development and actually on local talent, on homegrown talent.
Yeah, which is great to see that Milan have been doing that, playing Zeroli in this match, bringing him on.
It's almost like they're testing the waters, right? Already.
Yeah.
But you look at the signings like Mourinho, Lukaku, Zlatan when he came into Milan originally on his salary. Yeah, these won't be obviously sustainable anymore.
Which might be good for the national team, but for our Serie A, it might take another dip in quality just when it was getting back to the Serie A we all know and love.
Yeah, of course, presidents and spokespersons for clubs are freaking out. They're calling it a terrible thing to happen. Like, Italian football already struggles financially to compete with the rest of the world, and this was one of the only good things going for the Italian league. But
it's January, so Milan have brought in Gabbia. It's been confirmed that Gabbia is a Milan player once again, filling in for all the centre-back injuries that Milan have right now. Although Theo, left centre back, Jimenez, left back isn't looking like a terrible shout in today's day and age. But where do you think Milan should prioritise? Because Jovic has been on fire to a ridiculous level. He's been excellent. His technique, his finishing, his presence, I feel like he's being allowed to operate closer to the midfield, which allows him to dictate where he wants the play to go. And since he's a striker who knows where he wants the ball in the final third, he could set himself up nicely over there. And you see with Manjan's long balls to him, with the clearances that fall to Jovic, his touch, he had 2 in this game, bro. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yes. Do you think Milan should still bring in another striker?
Absolutely. Yes, I think so, 100%. If you look at the profiles right now, natural number 9s, you've got 2. One of them is Jovic, who's only started playing well recently. Granted, he's hit a patch of fine form.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, though, how he started and what his worst case can be. Absolutely invisible, right? Let's not forget that, because it would be foolish to forget that. And Giroud, on the other hand, who's an injury away from the end of his career, unfortunately, as harsh as it sounds. He's at the age now where a serious injury will finish him.
Yeah.
And you look around Giroud. Look around him. Everyone's dropped already. Everyone's already suffered an injury.
Okafor, who's another contender for that number 9 role.
So if you're taking part in 3 competitions, Jovic and Giroud definitely aren't enough. Definitely not. And then you say, okay, because Okafor can play as a 9. Can he, though? Can he? Is it really ideal to have Okafor as a makeshift 9? Why not bring in a natural 9 when in reality, Milan have wingers? It's not the end of the world. Milan's wingers are fine, even if you have to really dip into the depth of the squad and look at Luca Romero, you look at the likes of Chaka Traore, they can put in a shift. But when it comes to the strikers, the third one in line after Okafor as a natural striker is fucking Camarda, man.
Yeah.
And he's 15 years old. No, you need to bring in a striker.
Yeah, I think so as well. However, a lot of emphasis needs to go into that centre-back position. I think Milan still need to make another signing in that centre-back role. And not to mention, now Chukwueze is off to the African Cup of Nations, and so is Benasser. Now, Chukwueze, Milan can make do without, even though he's great for rotation, but with Pulisic and with the 2 gentlemen that you mentioned earlier, even with Okafor coming back, and obviously Romero and Chaka Traore, they could do something. But when it comes to the loss of Benasser in the midfield, how are Milan going to line up? Because Krunic fell out of favour and he's probably off to the Turkish league. Adli looked incredible midweek against Cagliari, so he might be a solution. But do you think there's Musa as well, obviously, alongside Loftus-Cheek and Reinders?
I mean, a midfielder would be nice as well. I don't think it's the most pressing thing. I think the striker situation and the centre-back situations need to be addressed first. Ideally, you bring one of each, but let's be real. We're not playing PlayStation over here.
Yeah, it's on manager mode.
Yeah. Hopefully, Algeria get knocked out as early as possible. Yeah. Right? Bring Benasser back.
Yeah, fuck rooting for Algeria. Come to think of it. Just 2 more points before we move on. Leao said that he idolizes Ronaldo. Right? And he said, my numbers aren't as good though. I just need to be a little bit more selfish. Respect to Leao, because he's still the star for Milan, even with Pulisic. I do believe that Leao is still the star. I think he's having a bit of a dip after an injury. He's a quality player. He's loved by the fans. He's loved by the squad. He's somewhat of a father figure in a weird way for a lot of these young players as well. You see the way he hugged Chaka after his goal. Amazing. But Leao, we're watching you and we have eyes, and we see that maybe you have been trying to be a little bit more selfish recently.
Yeah, you've been trying to score goals that you've never scored before in your life, my friend.
We see that as well.
The long range shots, the fucking excessive dribbling at times, which the excessive dribbling I can't fault him for. We can get over that. He's very good at it, and that's what he does. But the long range shooting I can never defend. It's not like he's fucking hammering them in like Malinovsky. His long range shooting isn't great. He should stop doing that. And if he's claiming that he isn't selfish, then maybe he should act a little bit less. But there is an element of truth to his game. Because
he takes the ball to the byline.
Exactly. And when it comes to his expected goals and his expected assists compared to some of the other big wingers in the league, you'll notice an interesting observation. The fact that Leao doesn't even appear in the expected goals argument, whereas the likes of Kvaratskhelia, for example, are all over it. Let me try to find the statistic. This one. It's a tweet by Saturnion, on Twitter. He says, Leao is simply not a goal-scoring winger. In Serie A right now, Gvara takes the most shots per game, while Leao is not even in the top 50. Chiesa and Gvara, both top 5 in big missed chances. Leao not even in top 50. Meanwhile, Leao has the most big chances created and most expected assists, while the other two are not even in the top 10. Yet they all have around the same goals and assists. Leao needs to get more selfish to level up, is what this guy said. It's a very interesting point.
But like he doesn't find himself in those positions because he typically plays to his strengths, or at least he's advised to play to his strengths, and his strengths are out wide.
Yeah.
He started off his career at Milan as a striker, and I'm sorry, but that is not his position.
I
we've
agree.
seen him when it was 3-4-3 and he was playing closer to Giroud up front, and I'm sorry, that's not his position either. He needs to be as wide as possible.
Yeah.
He can break in, he can play a square ball, he could go for goal sometimes, sure, but from outside the box, I don't want to be seeing any of that. Until one goes in, I do think his shooting is improving, but still a lot more work to be done.
Yeah.
One more point. Sassuolo, who haven't won a game in 5 matches, yet are the only team to have beaten Inter this year. They are going through a significantly dry spell. There are talks about them getting relegated this year. I know it's a stretch, but that is the reality they currently find themselves in halfway through the season. Should Dionisi be out?
Yes,
like now.
absolutely. No. Get them out.
They're 2 points ahead of Cagliari in 18th.
They're terrible. They're the side who've conceded the second most goals in the league.
They have the second most losses in the league.
Yeah,
alongside Verona, alongside Cagliari, and alongside Salernitana with 10. Empoli have 11.
I think Dionisi's time is up. I think they need a change of manager to simply motivate these guys enough for survival, because there seems to be a lack of unity as well in the Sassuolo team. I don't know if it's because many of these guys are young or new, but you look at, for example, Cagliari, even Salernitana, and you look at Frosinone and Udinese, there is a sense of they're a team.
Yeah.
They're a team. They fight for each other, they sweat for each other, they bleed for each other. Sassuolo don't have that this season. They don't have that at all. They don't have the unity. It's not working for them. It's not working for them at all. Individual errors are absolutely destroying them. It's true to a certain point. It is a harsh look on Dionisi, and perhaps it's unfair to judge him based on the fact that every single game it seems like one of his players lets him down.
Yeah.
But that's the harsh reality of football. It's other people who get you fired.
Exactly.
You know, a player makes a mistake, the manager gets fired.
Exactly. No, yeah. and that's it in business everywhere, not just football. As a manager, supervisor, you are responsible for what the people under you are doing, no? And if they're not up to par, then why are you fielding them? If you don't have any other options, why aren't you getting in any other options? But he insists on bringing in players like Castillejo, which just is mind-boggling. Milan in third on 36 points, just 3 ahead of Fiorentina, and they are 7 behind Juve in second. Sassuolo in 16th, only 2 points from 18th placed Cagliari.
Napoli took on Monza and they came 0-0, bro. The approach to the game from Mazzarri involved a tactical change where he opted for Zerbin over Politano. Palladino, on the other hand, addressed Monza's defensive crisis by lining up with Caldirola, Gagliardini and D'Ambrosio at the back, the only natural centre-back of the three obviously being Caldirola. We've seen this with quite a few teams. Milan, Atalanta, Monza, they've all had defensive disasters.
Yeah.
The first half was quite a cautious half. Both sides seemed to avoid defensive lapses more than anything else. Notable chances were, of course, few and far between until the 40th minute when Mario Rui found Anguissa in the box with a beautiful cross. But the Cameroonian's volley was weird, to say the least. It's like he really wanted to take it on his favourite foot, so he shifted his body to try to hit it with his favourite foot. But Di Gregorio saved it pretty comfortably, to be honest, running out and just making himself big in front of him. This was a big miss by Anguissa. Towards the end of the half, Kvaratskhelia attempted a solo effort, narrowly missing the target. He does so well to get there, can't quite cut it at the end at the moment. The second half started with Kvaratskhelia again missing an excellent opportunity to put Napoli ahead early on. The second half. The tempo increased as Birindelli replaced Pereira for Monza at halftime, and Birindelli ran down the left and he actually won a penalty after he found Colpani and his shot struck Mario Rui's arm. Pessina stepped up to take the penalty, but his slow run-up and the whistles in the Maradona resulted in a weak attempt, which was easily saved by Meret, who was quick to mock Pessina by doing the Luca Toni celebration, essentially, basically saying this guy's crazy. You know, this guy's crazy for the slow run up and trying to slot it in.
Yeah, because Meret's good from the spot. I really thought Pessina would try to nail that. It was a weird approach.
Sometimes you just have to fucking... So that's why I like Ronaldo's penalties, man.
Exactly.
You know, Ronaldo's never going to pass it in slow. He's always going to rifle it, you know? And that's the only way you should approach penalties, in my opinion.
I think so.
Because even if you get a touch on it, you know, it's either going to deflect out and you get a tap in, or it's going to hit the keeper and go and find its way into the back of the net. I just think that powerful penalties are the way to go.
Yeah.
Napoli tried to respond with Di Lorenzo testing Di Gregorio and Zerbin squandering a great chance created by Guevara. Tempers flared eventually. There was a bit of a fight between Bondo and Guevara. You know, Bondo went in hard on Guevara. They got up, they started pushing each other. Out of nowhere, Mazzarri goes in, you know, gets a red card. After that, Palladino gets a red card as well. It was all crazy by the end of the game. He tried to bring in Simeone. Mazzarri at the end, well, not he tried to bring him in, he brought him in. Di Gregorio had a crucial save on Gaetano, and the match ended in a goalless draw. So Napoli are actually creating quite a lot, bro.
It's just the wasteful nature in which they're playing. Obviously, they had Osimhen out due to his red card against Roma in this game. So they started with Raspadori up front. They also had Zerbin to his side and not Politano, who we all know what his left foot is like. But other than that, because even with Osimhen and Politano, we have seen them being a bit more wasteful this season, which has a lot to do with Guevara's confidence in the final
it's
third.
just the whole team's confidence, bro. And this was the point I was going to make. So you look at this game, for example, 19 shots, 58% ball possession, 9 shots on target. Like, come on, you don't score a single goal. That's obviously a psychological issue.
Yeah.
And Napoli's issue is purely psychological. They lost Spalletti, who, apart from, other than being a great manager, he's a great man and a great leader.
Yeah.
Right? Spalletti. He won the league with them, giving, lifting them to another level, ascending the team, taking the team up to fucking European status. Everyone talking about them as a dark horse for the Champions League. They were brilliant. Everyone loved watching them. He was sacked. Garcia was brought in.
Sacked.
He wasn't sacked, okay, but
Spalletti
he left, okay, but he was allowed to leave. Let's say that. He didn't. ADL didn't fight for him.
Name one person ADL fought for, other than himself.
He was replaced by Garcia, bro, who is the opposite of Spalletti. Garcia is, okay, granted they both play a 4-3-3, but Garcia is a cold figure. Garcia is not like an arm around the shoulder kind of manager. He's quite distant from the players. And
he's not in the trenches with the players.
Exactly. And they had this guy for 6 months, dude. And then Mazzarri came in, who hasn't had time to really implement his ideal system. And it's not like Napoli have been terrible, they've just been super wasteful, and they clearly lack confidence because they've gone through so many changes. And not to mention as well, Kim Min-jae is a big factor as well.
Yeah. I think a big factor to maybe the wasteful nature of Napoli, at least in this game, was a certain Michele Di Gregorio, who got 9 saves. Goals prevented 1.7 over here. I mean, just definitely the best goalkeeper in the league so far
this season, he's been the best by far.
Absolutely.
And even with that mistake that he made, playing the ball.
When Mari fucking gave him the ball and closed the door,
like that was his only mistake, and he's been super. The new Vicario.
Yeah, the very different kind of, Vicario's a very small acrobatic keeper who, by the way, I'm so glad he's doing insanely for Spurs. You look at some highlights, like even they conceded 4 recently, Spurs, and Vicario, if it weren't for him, they would have conceded 7, bro. The saves that guy pulls off. Di Gregorio, he's so big and he's so dominant like a traditional goalkeeper that probably when you're in front of you, you're like, where the fuck am I going to shoot this ball? How am I going to beat this guy?
And then he's really nimble on top of it all. He's really agile.
Yeah. What a keeper, man. What a keeper.
He's lovely. He's really good, man. But other than that, I feel like this should have been a victory for Napoli. And funnily enough, it could have easily been a victory for Monza if the approach to the penalty was a bit better. I do think that the whistles played a big part, huh? I think they threw him off. They were so loud.
Yeah, because Pessina, it didn't seem like he was dead set on taking this tricky soft penalty like the Jorginho ones or something like that. But it almost seemed like he was kind of caught in between two minds, because it's not like he committed to the full technique. You know what I mean? It was just a shit penalty. He got me at 2 on Fanta, bro. And Meret got me at 12. It was crazy. I'm like, what the hell do I do?
That's crazy. Yeah, man. I think that he reacted negatively so quickly as well that maybe it's true he did get in his own head about it.
Yeah, I think so. And just a few weeks ago, I said I like this new role that Pessina is playing because he's not too refined in front of goal, and his leadership qualities are really coming through, and his work ethic. And Cesco had disagreed with me. Well, guess what, Cesco? You know. The proof is in the pudding. They put him
in front of goal and he literally missed. And that's it. So yeah, Napoli are currently in 8th actually with 28 points.
Madonna.
This is a terrible fall from grace for them, my God. They've got Fiorentina, Bologna, Atalanta and Roma all ahead of them. While on the other hand, Monza are in 11th with 22 points. They've hit a bit of a rough patch as well, Monza. I'm sure they'll be back though.
I think so. I think both teams probably will be back. It's just concerning, especially Napoli, to see that dip from one season to the next.
Yeah.
Udinese 3, Bologna 0. Could you believe that result when you saw it?
No, and I couldn't believe the possession stats either.
I believe it was a Maltese politician that in the European Parliament, he once had this really brave saying, "What the hell?"
What the hell?
And that's exactly what I had to say about this result. I mean, the Rossoblu needed a victory to hold on to 4th place. They missed Dan Ndoye, Adama Sao Mauro, and Jesper Karlsson. And then coming off back-to-back draws with Torino and Sassuolo, Udinese's injury list remained extensive, including Ezibwe, Delefeu, Bijol, Ebosse, Zemura, Pafundi, Semedo, and Brenner. Silvestri was dropped in favour of Nigeria international Maduka Okoye, making his Serie A debut. Like, with AFCON coming up, all the bros are featuring, like, you know what I mean? Chukwueze played 96 minutes yesterday. It's like, come on, sprain your ankle, bro. Like,
it's so unfair. Instead of protecting them so they can go and have a good tournament, you make them play 90 minutes.
But
oh my God! So we're watching the Coppa Italia, and Roma are really threatening against Cremonese right now. They just smack the crossbar.
Also, Atalanta did win, so it is Milan-Atalanta in the quarterfinals.
It was 3-0 for Atalanta. Miranchuk eventually got the third. So that's one save by the keeper, and then
Pellegrini
off the crossbar,
off the line.
Damn!
Wow. Crazy. I wish we had the time to record 2-3 episodes a week, man.
Hey, man.
But yeah, let's get into the play-by-play. In the opening stages, Skorupski was left with a bloody nose after a heavy collision with his teammate Lewis Ferguson. Nonetheless, the goalkeeper made a great double save on Festi Ebosele and the Kamara follow-up as well, just showcasing the quality that this keeper has. We forget that I'm really glad this season that he has a good team ahead of him, Skorupski, because he is a top goalkeeper. Udinese opened the scoring on the resulting corner, where Skorupski pulled off a great save to deny Pajero, who struck the ball from outside the area first time, but could do nothing about the Pereira rebound. In the 47th minute, just in the beginning of the second half, Lovric's shot was guided into the back of the net by Lucca to make it 2-0. Initially, I didn't think Lucca... I thought it just deflected off Lucca and went in, but Lucca did great to stay onside, and in a split second, he really guided the ball well. It's not that easy, man.
Of course, and all he technically did was just angled his body so that the ball can hit him and literally deflect off of him. It was a matter of physics, that goal. He didn't even move his leg, like, you know.
Exactly.
Very, very intelligent play by Lucca.
So if you need physics private lessons, Lorenzo Lucca. Yes, Mr. Lucca. In the 52nd minute, Christensen's looping cross fell perfectly to Pajero, who smashed in a first-time volley. It was very central, but little that Skorupski could do about it, because, you know, you blink and the ball's in the back of the net. Motta made a quadruple change and shifted to a 3 at the back. He brought on Lukumi, Abisher, Fabian and Orsolini for Posh, Moro, Christiansen and Salemakers to try to, you know, get a bit more offensive and a bit more direct, but to no avail, and frustrations were flying towards the end for Bologna, and I have no idea how Xerxes didn't receive a second yellow card for his follow-through on Pajero in the closing stages of the match, because it was a high foot, it was late. Brother, if that's not a red card, and he was already on a yellow, so all he had to do was brandish a yellow card, but for some reason, he didn't. Udinese 3, Bologna 0 was the final result. Now, Udinese have only 2 victories this season, and they came against Milan and Bologna, the very informed Bologna.
Wow. Yeah, I think Udinese are a tough nut to crack. But I think they shocked Bologna over here.
Absolutely.
I think they pressed them high. They didn't give them any space. They are physically superior to most teams, as we often highlight, that they're just big, powerful and fast.
Yep.
They're also quite technical. They've got the likes of Pereira and Lucca, who are very technical, and Lovrich as well isn't bad with the ball. And I feel like they just overwhelmed Bologna. Absolutely overwhelmed them. And they stunned them with each and every goal. And then there was almost no reaction. By the time they were 2-0 down, I think Bologna had already considered the game to be over. And you look at the stats, it's just a manager's dream for Udinese, and the manager's nightmare for Bologna. Because you look at the expected goals, they have 1 apiece. Ball possession is 27% for Udinese.
Yeah.
Are you mad, And then with
because they got it done quite early.
Yeah, which, of course, then they're like, have the ball, no problem.
Exactly.
Good luck penetrating. Us, we're impenetrable. We've drawn the most games this season.
Exactly.
Out of everyone. You're not scoring. 73% ball possession with only 5 shots on target for Bologna.
Yeah, man.
They were forced out, man. They couldn't penetrate.
Yeah, they didn't let Bologna play the football that they wanted to play, simply because, like you said, they stunned them. The amount of... and you look at their lineup, does that look like an offensive team to you? No, but fucking hell were they offensive in this game. They were direct, they were ruthless, they were offensive, and it's just interesting because Udinese have struggled so much to win games this season because their offensive output is weak, especially without a player like Gerard Deulofeu. And keep in mind, they lost Beto in summer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who was the next big thing for them, would at least get you 8 goals in a season, which was massive for a
Hot
team
take, they've
like
upgraded.
Udinese. With Lorenzo Lucca.
Yes.
I mean, come on, but he
think-
had 3 seasons better where he was decent.
Absolutely decent at most. I think that Lucca will probably hit the numbers.
Yeah, it's
that
too early
Beto.
to say, I think.
But what's his best season, Beto, for Udinese? I highly doubt he has way more than 10 goals because he always scores in phases, either at the beginning of the season or, as he often does, towards the end
and then
of
he
the
goes
season.
quiet.
Then he goes
There's
quiet.
9
He
games
absolutely
where he doesn't
disappears.
score.
Beto was good because he was, again, powerful. He was quick, and he could absolutely physically destroy his opponents and then just rifle it into the top of the net. Luca offers way more than that, man. Luca's technique, Luca's touch, Luca's the way he sees the game, the way he reads the game. For me, I'd much rather have Lorenzo Lucca than Beto on my
It
team.
depends totally on the style of the team, because Udinese, who are a pragmatic team, they need someone who could fucking like Deulofeu or Beto, who could just charge.
But then they've got
forward.
those wingers, man. They're rapid.
The wingers are
Marcel
rapid. The
and
wingers
Kamara,
are,
my God, bro.
if there's something, they're rapid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're very, very, very quick. So Lucca stylistically could prove to be, if the team plays a bit more for Lorenzo Lucca, then I agree with you, because he's so technically gifted. He's so big. His control is so good, and his finishing is decent as well. He's a smart striker. But yeah, that's how essentially Udinese just blew Bologna out of the water. A special shout out goes to Pajero for his influence in this game. I feel like ever since that stupid red card that he got, he's really upgraded. He was having it from distance, and he's got a good shot in him. He had, I'm not sure how many touches he had, but he was very, very, very involved in this game, man. And it's also the defensive solidarity. Like, you look at a team, man, that are so hard to penetrate. Like, Udinese have been struggling so much this season to, like I was saying, to win games because of their lack of offensive output. This is where I was going. But their defense, on the other hand, is A-OK, bro.
It's solid.
It's A-OK.
It's solid.
Like, they've only lost 5 games. Context, Fiorentina lost 5 games. You know what I mean? They only lost 5 games. They won 2, which is dreadful. Obviously, they've lost more than they've won. That 11 draws, bro.
That's wild.
11 draws is absolutely crazy. Like,
The
a
management
couple
must
of
be-
good wins could really change the season for Udinese. And this is one of them. This is one great win.
Like, the ownership must be looking down at that manager and thinking, how should I even perceive this? Like 11 draws. 11 draws, all right. 5 defeats, good. 11 draws, good and bad. 2 wins, bad. Like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, I just googled the Beto's highest scoring season for Udinese. He scored 11 goals. Okay, so he had 2 back-to-back seasons where he did, in 2022, 10 goals. In 2021, 11 goals, right? Lorenzo Lucca, halfway through the season, is on 6 goals. So if he actually does continue scoring, he can pretty much, output-wise, replace.
Yeah, he just needs to be more consistent than Beto, because if he's more consistent, then certainly. But I still think it's obviously a bit too early to tell.
Yeah, and he's young, Luca.
Yeah.
Not very young, but in Italian terms, he's young.
Now it's easy to look at this game, see Bologna conceded 3 goals, and say what's the matter with Bologna's defense. But do keep in mind that this has been a sturdy defense for
one of the best
for the whole, for the entire season. I don't think this was a matter of their defense, but I think it all happened so quickly with conceding early on in the game, and then in the 47th and the 52nd, Bologna crumbled. The entire team crumbled. I don't think it was the defense. I don't think it was an individual in particular. I think just Bologna were outworked by Udinese, man.
Yeah, they were shocked to oblivion by them as well. Interesting to see Cremonese have taken the lead against Roma over here in the 37th minute.
Saju, baby. Remember you raving about Saju.
I had predicted that he'd be picked up. It'd be one of those that's picked up. But nice to see that he's scoring still.
Yeah.
He's a good player, former Milan youth product. I remember him being an agile winger type of player, and now he plays as a number 9, which is interesting. What puberty does to you.
Bologna, 5th place on 31 points, now 2 points behind Fiorentina, who have Champions League football at the moment, naturally, whilst Udinese are in 15th place on 17 points, just 3 points ahead of Cagliari in 18th.
Fiorentina, bro, played Torino at home, and they beat them 1-0.
Good game.
Torino were by far the better team.
I think Torino were very good, but were. Fiorentina, bit of a Juve.
Yes, absolutely, and that's a point that we will be.
Did I just screw up your talking points?
Yeah, you absolutely fuck. Like we're done. Like that's it. That's the game.
Fiorentina in 4th.
Yeah. So Kwame was on the left, Gjorko was on the right, Milinkovic and Ranieri were at the back together. Arthur and Duncan were in the midfield. For Torino, it was pretty much the usual lineup with one interesting tweak. Pietro Pellegrini was playing off the shoulder of Duvan Zapata.
Weird,
yeah. And it all started with Torino taking control. They displayed a dynamic and well-structured style, particularly down the right-hand side, with Bellanova, who has been very, very impressive. And to be honest, if he had kept this form up, or if he had even shown this type of quality with Inter, they would have probably kept him.
Yeah, maybe.
Fiorentina couldn't find their rhythm, with Arthur and Bonaventura really struggling in the first half. Torino had several chances, notably a strong header by Zapata, one of those headers where he pulled his neck so fucking far back and just whacked it, you know what I mean? Brilliantly saved by Terracciano, and I feel like Terracciano is most definitely the most underrated goalkeeper in the league.
Definitely, we didn't even speak about him potentially being called up for Italy last time.
Exactly.
And like, he's a contender, you know what I mean?
Of course, he's brilliant, man. At shot stopping, not many goalkeepers are better than him. Lazaro had an attempt. He was also denied by Terracciano's acrobatics. Torino ended the half leading the chances board 4-1 to Fiorentina. So they had 4 chances. Fiorentina only had 1, but they failed to capitalize, and it would eventually prove to be fatal for them.
Yeah.
The second half saw a rejuvenated Fiorentina. Italiano probably fucking gave them a piece of his mind at halftime, you know.
I wouldn't like to be part of the Fiorentina team at halftime. We're disappointing, and there's Italiano as the coach.
Italiano's a bit of an angry coaching kind of style kind of guy.
Jake, bald Italian managers are all nuts. Prove me wrong, man.
But I mean, you remember Brocchi? Brocchi's kind of bald, no? But Brocchi would count as
Brocchi had that fucking
Never
faux
mind.
hawk back in the day.
Yes, and then he had that whole gelled back look. I was going to say Brocchi's first game was screaming at the players, remember, in the cup?
Yeah.
It was
No,
hilarious.
bald Italian managers
You're right,
are
man.
mental, man.
You're right. And Italiano's definitely a crazy type. You see him after the game, you know, fucking riling up the fans. It's hilarious.
Conte has a hair transplant. He's crazy.
You're right. Absolutely, yes. Fiorentina increased their tempo and they tried to attempt to break through Torino's defence. Juric introduced Sanabria and Linetti for some fresh legs. Italiano responded by bringing in Nzola and Mandragora. Fiorentina dictated the game in the second half, but they struggled to trouble Vanja Milinkovic-Savic until the 83rd minute, when Ranieri emerged as a hero for Fiorentina, rising above Voivoda to head home across from Coyote, the ever-impressive Italian young right-back Coyote.
Michael Coyote,
who
man.
whipped in a lovely ball over there, securing the 3 points for Fiorentina. Ranieri, bro, has scored 3 continental goals this season, but this is his first ever Serie A goal for Fiorentina.
Wow. Congratulations
And
celebration.
Yes, he did very well to take that goal, and he emerged as a hero over here. Very happy for him. But yes, your point stands, bro. Fiorentina have kind of become this Juve type of team where they know how to suffer without conceding lately, and they always seem to get that winning goal, and it comes through different avenues. You know?
And I mean, you have to adapt, and that's exactly what Fiorentina did. How could you keep on being this offensive unit of a team, which they were a couple of seasons ago, when, unfortunately, you don't have the players that could give you that output?
Absolutely.
Like, I believe Bonaventura is their top scorer this season.
Yes.
Inzola's been struggling. Beltran, I think he got 2-3 goals now. So it's tough to be an offensive side when you don't have someone to get you that finishing touch. So fuck it. Let's be pragmatic. Let's be a bit more defensive.
I can't help but feel that they have never got their striking situation right. I think Beltran is the closest they've come to getting it right. But Jovic, the way he was deployed, made him look like a bad player. And I was out here literally saying that Jovic doesn't seem to have anything going for him as a number 9, simply because they would play him hugging the defensive line and trying to feed him like a target man. That's not how you fucking use Jovic. Jovic needs to drop deep, collect the ball and build up.
Exactly.
He was wasted at Fiorentina. He wasn't deployed like that at all. Inzola, on the other hand, is a counter-attacking demon who will literally just hold up the play and wait for teammates to arrive and play it to them. That's what he excels at. He was good at Spezia for that reason. He'll get the ball at the halfway line, turn, run at goal, hold up, play it to the wingers. You know, he was very good in those situations. They need someone who scores goals. They need an actual finisher. They need a fox in the box. That's what they need. That's the type of striker they need with this system.
With the amount of creativity that this player is going to have around him. Think of when Nico is fit, when they've got Sotil on the other side, Bonaventura just behind them. If they want some more firepower, they could bring on Kwame, they could bring on Giorgio Icone.
Lorenzo Lucca, bro. Imagine Lorenzo Lucca.
Man.
Imagine him. Imagine him with his technique, his goal prowess, his intelligence, his ability to move. He would be amazing over there, I think.
Especially with the tax laws changing. They want to look local, shop local.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, Terracciano, brilliant. Ranieri scored the goal.
I'd like to just highlight Michael Coyote a little bit, because I don't think we do it enough, kind of thing. 19 years old. And he's playing like he's been playing in Serie A for a while.
Mm-hmm. In fact, it's his first season. Yes, he has 11 appearances, bro. He's played 915 minutes so far, and he hasn't really looked out of place at all. So,
No, and they just signed Parisi You know what I mean? They were trying him out as a right back, like in come Michael Kayode, and they've never looked back since. Since playing him that first time, they haven't looked back.
Absolutely. Bro, I think we can move on from this one. Torino's usual problems in front of goal. They're such an organized side. They're such a nice team, but they really struggle to get goals, basically. Regarding the standings, Torino find themselves in 10th with 24 points, while Fiorentina are up in 4th with 33 points. Dude.
They crept up on us, Fiorentina.
They crept up on us out of nowhere completely. So first it was Bologna who crept up on us, jumped into 4th place. And now all of a sudden it's Fiorentina. And to be honest, it's all about how they look week by week. Because last week I was convinced that Bologna looked so much better. You know?
It's consistency is key, brother. And this is a team that...
And fitness and health and prosperity.
Yes. Cheers to that.
Inshallah.
But there's also a team that has great European experience together, making the Conference League final together. They made the Coppa Italia final together. There's a real sense of unity over there. So even if they're having a dry spell, lest we forget they are a team.
Yeah, and they're a team that wins more than Bologna do. Bologna have 7 draws, for example, while Fiorentina have 3 draws. Fiorentina have 10 wins, Bologna 8 wins. Then Bologna don't lose, as we mentioned earlier. 3 losses for them, and then Fiorentina have 5 losses. 2 points separating them. Very interesting. Very
Same
exciting.
amount of losses as Udinese.
Atalanta lurking, of course. Roma and Napoli lurking. 5th spot might get you Champions League. Fucking exciting.
This is Serie A Spotlight. Atalanta 1, Lecce 0. Speaking of Atalanta, you mentioned them, so I'm going to use that as a segue.
Fantastic. Nice. Bouncing off each other.
Yes, Atalanta defeated Lecce with the score of 1-0. Atalanta secured their 3rd consecutive home victory, propelling them into the Europa League zone. Toloi, Palomino, Hatteber and El Bilal Toure were still out of action. Scalvini pulled out in the warm-up, replaced by Mario Pasalic, with Derun dropping into defense. I think this is the first time in a while that I've said Derun and not Deron. So let's just track back, all right? Deron dropped into defense. Lamek Banda and Marin Pongracic sat out bans for Lecce, with Pontus Almqvist, Nicolas Ansone and Castro Dermaku out injured. Now the first half saw Lecce managing to keep Atalanta at bay despite the home team's attempts to break through. Atalanta controlled possession, but Lecce's defence, with several key players missing, held firm. We know the approach that Lecce can take, how they can disrupt, how they can sit back and be this brick wall for you. Lecce are the kind of team to make Rafael Leao seem like he's not good at football. In the second half, Atalanta continued to search for an opening, and they got very, very close through Pasalic, who, from a very tight angle, rattled the woodwork with an absolute bullet. Now that would have been our goal of the week without a shadow of a doubt, but unfortunately for Pasalic, that was not the case. In the 58th minute, our goal of the week apparently took place. Just moments after Pasalic's attempt, Lukman received an assist from Pasalic and managed to score with a well-placed low shot from outside the area after making quick work of the defender, giving Atalanta a crucial 1-0 lead. Scamacca missed a couple of opportunities. It was quite a frustrating night for Scamacca, and then in fact he was brought off for the inform Muriel. Now, it was a 1-0 lead for Atalanta. Cometh the 89th minute. In the dying minutes of the match, Lecce had a golden opportunity to equalise when Udon's first-time strike from 12 yards out was brilliantly saved by Carnesecchi. Carnesecchi isn't known to be a solid goalkeeper just yet. He has moments of brilliance, he has moments of clumsiness, but he's a very, very promising young goalkeeper for Italy. This save was magnificent, and he sealed the victory, had the entire team celebrating with him. What a save it was by Carnesecchi.
You wouldn't guess that he's 23 years old, you know? That's so young again for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, it was a great experience he got with Cremonese last season, starting game in, game out after Radu fell out of favour. And Carnesecchi simply, he is now a very good goalkeeper. So I want to highlight a couple of things regarding Atalanta, who are now on fine form. They beat Milan, now they beat Lecce. They're doing well, Atalanta. Lookman is pivotal in this, their top scorer with 7 goals and 3 assists, and he seems to get goals when no one else is getting goals.
He creates them out of nothing, it seems.
Yeah, and it's great to see that he has continued that momentum that he gathered in his first season in Serie A last year, proving to be a very good striker.
I did think at one point when he started scoring upon arrival, I was like, he'll calm down eventually, this will stop. But it never did, and he's off to AFCON now as well. With Nigeria, who, by the way, are absolutely stacked. Their team is ridiculous.
Come on, Nigeria.
Ridiculous. We've said, like, come on. 3 different nations.
Algeria, Morocco, Nigeria.
Ivory Coast. Seko Fofana.
Come on, I am anticipating a top African Cup of Nations after how the African teams did in the World Cup. 4 years ago, the African Cup of Nations, everyone was laughing at them. It's see them now.
Only for the group stages, because there are some countries who are a little bit unfortunate, to say the least. But as the bigger teams start to play each other, it gets better and better, right?
Yeah.
And fuck that, man. Those games are the best to watch, man. The small nations, man. I'm from Malta. I'm used to it.
Yeah, so you love watching Malta?
I love watching Malta, man.
I love supporting Malta. I hate watching them.
It's brutal, man.
Yeah.
But can I tell you, by the way, how I've been screaming for Kristovic for so long. He finally starts.
And
he drops this fucking stinker, and he was missing chances. My God, man. I was like, that's the position I was talking about, where Piccoli would miss typically, and I'd be like, Kristovic would do better there. He had like 3 of those this game, and he missed them all. He was really off form, man.
It wasn't a good performance by Kristovic. I was watching, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, would I prefer Piccoli over there? I mean, it's tough when you have to choose between garbage and shit. You know what I mean?
Come on.
I'm being a bit too harsh here. They're both going through a bit of a tough spell, but it's like when I called Verona strikers, and who would you rather have? Giovanni Simeone, who I've been calling Diego Simeone for 106 episodes now. Kevin Lasagna and Thomas Henry. I think. Who do you prefer, those 3 or Ed and Eddie?
That was so funny, man.
Great. I love highlighting my jokes. One more thing about Atalanta. I like this Pasalic way more than the Pasalic that was playing before. The Pasalic that is allowed to roam into the areas he wants to roam into. Because he's such an intelligent player. You cannot put him in a system where, like Atalanta, we know the formation they play. It's either a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. Always, always, always. He cannot be in a pivot. Pasalic. Do not put him in a pivot. You put him, if you're going to put him in a pivot, make sure your defense is holding a tight, low block, because obviously you're going to be compromised one central midfielder. But man, as an attacking midfielder, or at least when they tell him, Isma, push up, brother, push up, that is when he's most dangerous. And we're seeing it. He's grabbing goals, he's grabbing assists, he's having cracks at goals. This is Pasalic, bro. This is Pasalic.
He's not a pass sideways, run a lot type of player. Simplicity in itself is an art in the game, of course. And we look at so many players who are praised and hailed for keeping it simple more often than not. Pasalic, on the other hand, is a player who is creatively brilliant.
The pitch is an empty canvas.
Yes, let him paint it.
With his heat map and stuff. I don't know. There's got two artsy.
But the thing is, there's Coop Miners as well, who's just much better, right?
No, I mean, yes. And way more versatile. Because Coop Miners can play in a pivot. Coop Miners can play in front of the defense, for crying out loud.
Miners can play in any position in that midfield.
Exactly. By the way, guys, I know Jake got me a Scalvini shirt, and Jake knows I got him a Coop Miners shirt.
Obviously, Christmas is over, and we exchanged gifts.
Yay!
Fun fact, I had to buy 2 Atalanta kits because I forgot to print the name on the first one.
Because Jake does things. So Jake doesn't do things strategically. Jake does things where he gets a motivational rush to do things.
Yes.
And sometimes it gets the better of his brain.
I have ADHD. And I don't take medication. Okay,
It's undiagnosed.
Yeah.
ADHD. But it so is, like, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like a boomer when it comes to these things. How do I manage? I have a memory clicking it, like but whatever. But yeah, at least we have 2 kits now of Atalanta. They're different, at least.
3.
So, 3.
We've got 3. We've got a blank one, a lovely away kit from last season with the woman running as the badge. Jake has the away kit of this season without a sponsor. We both got each other kits without sponsors because Atalanta's sponsors can be fucking dreadful. I have Scalvini home this season. Jake has Cope Miners away this season.
Love that.
What a collection.
Yeah.
I'm going to close off this game because now we're just talking about kits. But Atalanta Atalanta were frustrated by Lecce. They missed several opportunities, but they did manage to get a victory, and that is what good teams do. Atalanta keep themselves in the picture in 6th place on 29 points. They're just 4 points behind Fiorentina and 4th, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As Lecce, 13th place on 20 points.
Lazio beat Frosinone 3-1. The initial half was a contest with both teams struggling to find the net. Lazio started aggressively, but neither team managed to score. Frosinone were quite confident with their defensive approach, and they did manage to frustrate Lazio's attacking efforts, and the first half concluded in a goalless draw. The second half witnessed a thrilling turnaround, however. Frosinone took the lead through a penalty by Sule after Guendouzi's handball. This was their first ever goal against Lazio, by the way.
Whoa.
And then Lazio swiftly responded with goals through Castellanos and Isaksen, as the pair linked up twice to score 2 lovely goals in quick succession. Wow. Castellanos' goal was a looping header, and Isaksen's was a well-placed shot. And both brilliant goals.
Yeah, I love the looping header.
Yeah. Lazio took advantage of Frosinone's lapse in concentration at the end when Rick scored, concealing the victory.
My name's not Rick!
That's so good, bro. You had it ready and everything.
Thank you,
I
bro.
love that.
It's been on my lap all episode on that video paused on 14 seconds, just waiting to use it.
Patrick, for those of you
who
didn't have a
who
childhood.
live under a rock.
Amazing. Oh, good.
Yeah. So this game, respect to Sarri. Castellanos was having a stinker, a nightmare, and he kept him on. He showed faith in Castellanos, and Castellanos repaid him. In the second half, it was an absolutely, completely different player. He took out Felipe Anderson, he took out Pellegrini, he took out Kamada, but he didn't take out Castellanos.
And who was he going to bring on, to be honest, as well?
Yeah.
Chiro's out injured, you know?
Yeah, but you can bring on the likes
You
of...
could put Felipe Anderson as a false 9, bring on a winger, maybe.
Yes. There are many alternatives. And even Pedro. You bring on Pedro as a false 9.
Yeah.
But yes, man, it has to be said that these guys, Castellanos and Isaksen, have both repaid Sarri when he didn't substitute them. Isaksen had a similar thing in Europe, I believe. He had a game in the Champions League where he was having a stinker. He took off someone else, and then eventually Isaksen scored them. I can't quite remember the details of the game, but it definitely occurred. I want to talk about a little bit, bro. Felipe Anderson. Mm-hmm. What the hell happened to him? One of the streakiest players there is in the league.
I don't know why you seem surprised, like, because he's literally, he's very streaky.
It's been his personality and his character style, whatever, for a while, right? But last season was a fantastic season for Philip.
Yeah, and
he was one of their best players, man. How can you just go from that to this? He looks abysmal right now. He looks terrible, man.
When it's something like that, I have no idea what it is about the player. I think it's more a question of their... like how good they are mentally, because in order to remain consistent, you need to be a fucking brick. You need to have a brick mind. You know what I mean? Impenetrable. Maybe he's just not one of those guys, but to me, he's been streaky a long time. And now he started the season off well, and like you're saying, he had a great season last season. But hey, streaky players have good seasons.
Absolutely, yes, man. They were missing Luis Alberto for this game. However, they still managed to score 3 goals, which is very good for them. Luis Alberto, I noticed a thing, by the way, recently. It's like him and Zaccagni play alone. Luis Alberto and Zaccagni.
Yes, bro. I mean,
and in fact, Luis Alberto doesn't often change. He doesn't often switch the play. He keeps it on his side and he just plays with Zaccagni. And Kamada's growing more and more frustrated, man. Kamada is being left out, and it's sad to see, bro.
Yeah, we posted that snippet recently. Go watch it on our TikTok, guys. That's Area Spotlight.
Or Instagram or anywhere.
Or Instagram or anywhere. Yeah, he looks very frustrated with it.
Yeah. He's often ignored, and it's sad to see. But yeah, solid win for Lazio. Good management by Sarri, and a very good reaction from the players. Frosinone, of course. A terrible mistake by Luca Garritano also on that second goal leading up to it. He just gave the ball away so clumsily.
Through.
And, it's so frustrating for a player because when you make a mistake like that, you need to run back.
Yeah.
And there's no way you're getting the ball, but you have to run back or else you're going to get shot on.
Yeah.
So he just runs back to just kick the ball. That's already in the back of the net. Very frustrating for him. There's nothing worse for a footballer.
Yeah.
Lazio are in 9th with 27 points, while Frosinone are in 14th with 19 points.
A relegation 6-pointer dogfight.
Yes, please.
Are you ready? Verona 0, Salernitana
them,
1. Yes. This was a massive clash as Hellas were just 1 point clear of the drop zone, and Pippo Inzaghi was already feeling the pressure at rock bottom despite a 2-2 draw with Milan earlier on. Andre Duda was suspended and Jayden Braff was injured for the hosts, while Ochoa and Boulaye Dia were still out of action for Salernitana. Now, both teams started cautiously, with Salernitana having some more possession. There are a few chances in the opening 30 minutes, including a header from Chuana and a shot from Davidovic. In the final moments of the first half, Salernitana created a couple of opportunities, with Montepò making crucial saves, particularly the ones on Simi and Castanos. Salernitana took the lead early in the second half with Chuana's well-placed diagonal shot after a counter-attack. Like we said, it was very, very similar to Lookman's goal. Verona had a chance to equalise at the 65th minute, but Ngonj missed a sitter from close range. Now, despite Verona pushing forward, Salernitana, though fatigued, maintained possession and defended well. Towards the end, Salernitana had a chance on the counter with Koulibaly, but failed to convert, and it was a massive victory for Salernitana. Yes, they're still dead last, but this is the momentum that they need before they start jumping other teams, no?
Absolutely, of course. And this was a crucial win because, as you mentioned, this would have been the definition of a 6-pointer. Had Salernitana lost this, their survival hopes would be fucking demolished practically. They've cut the distance between them and Verona to 2 points with this
There
victory.
you go.
Like, it's massive. It's massive.
Yeah, they're no longer guaranteed. Not that they were ever guaranteed relegation, but it was looking pretty fucking obvious that they were strong contenders. Now they're in a very similar situation, essentially, to
the rest.
18th placed Cagliari,
Yeah.
and fucking 17th placed Verona. So yeah, massive victory for them. I want to highlight the performance of Chuana, who yes got the goal, but he also cleared the ball off the line. So there's some versatility for you by Chuana. So shout out Chuana from Serie A Spotlight.
I love that Inzaghi's playing Simi. It makes me feel like Simi's a good striker and Real recognize Real. However, Simi keeps having shocker after shocker after shocker, man.
Yeah.
I really hope he grows into it. Love the player.
Well, he hadn't been in Serie A for a while, so he needs some time.
The raid on Salernitana has begun. The raid on all these bottom teams has begun. To be honest, Terracciano. Did I mention that Terracciano's off to Milan? By the way,
no. I think I was supposed to mention that.
Terracciano, the fullback of Verona, is probably joining Milan, most likely.
Very versatile young player. I believe was born in 2003, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, very young.
Could play right back, left back, defensive midfield, anywhere.
Yeah, the likes of Bradaric and Mazzocchi are being rumoured out as well. I heard rumours of Bradaric to Torino, for example.
And Mazzocchi to Napoli.
On the other hand, they have many African players who will be leaving to AFCON, or who have left rather to AFCON, so we'll see what they do in January. They have brought in Walter Sabatini, who's a legendary sporting director in the industry. He was previously at Palermo. at Roma, Lazio, Salernitana, and that miracle survival season.
Bologna.
He's always managed to build one hell of a team wherever he's been. So we'll see what he can do with Salernitana this January.
Yep, and I think there's a lot of work to be done over there. We'll see what Verona are gonna do, because it's not looking good for them from an ownership perspective. They are claimed to be bankrupt.
Their president is bankrupt, and they're probably going to be taken over by the appropriate shareholders. So it's selling season for Hellas Verona right now. We'll see what the new owners do.
When isn't it selling season for Verona?
It's been for a while.
The only difference is they are no longer a gold mine. Let's put it that way. Salernitana are still last on just 12 points in 18 matches. However, they are getting closer and closer to competing with Empoli, Cagliari, and Verona. Verona, who are in 17th, are on 14 points.
Also, Isaac Hien has joined Atalanta, and that's a massive sign.
Yes,
He's
yes.
Hellas Verona's best centre back.
Yep.
Yeah, there was also another relegation 6-pointer between Cagliari and Empoli, where Cagliari were, to be honest, better than Empoli, I think, for the majority of the game. Both teams fielded a trequartista, funnily enough, this game, and I was very excited to watch the game, as it was a 4-3-1-2 for both teams, with Viola and Daniel Maldini acting as the trequartisti, but it led to no goal, so I was quite disappointed. The interesting things to note was that Pavoletti did win a penalty for Cagliari, but it was missed by Viola as the goalkeeper saved it. Viola did score from a crazy free kick, a very unscorable angle, and he shot and it looped its way into the back of the net, but there was a foul by Pavoletti on Caprile, the goalkeeper, so it didn't actually count. And yeah, that was pretty much the game. Empoli liked the counter-attack, using their pace with Cambiaghi and Caputo, of course, trying to break through the lines. Daniel Maldini looks pretty good, surprisingly enough. Yeah, but that was pretty much the game.
Caprile, obviously, with the penalty save. Do remember, I believe he's owned by Napoli. Caprile, yes. if I'm not mistaken. Brilliant save to deny the penalty, and I was surprised to see him start, even though surprise saves are. Berisha has had a couple of stinkers, but he's also had some good performances. Yeah. But I always find it bold when teams drop their starting goalkeeper. I always find it's a big balls move.
I agree. But Caprile has been brilliant, and he was brilliant last season at Bari as well. He had a great save on Petagna at the end as well. It was just an all-round fantastic display by him.
Yeah.
When it comes to the standings, of course, they are both bottom-tier teams. Cagliari are in 14th, in 18th with 14 points, while Empoli are in 19th with 13 points. They had the opportunity to jump each other, but couldn't quite do it. Cagliari getting so close with that penalty and that offside goal. But of course, they couldn't.
A lot of these games do tend to end up 0-0 because none of the teams kind of want to risk too much. In fact, it's always a good bet to put on, even though like Verona, Salernitana would have lost you money in that sense. But it is typical that relegation 6-pointers, especially earlier on in the season, and title contention matches earlier on in the season typically lead to draws.
Yeah. This was another game, by the way, where Zito Luvumbo started in the second half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he starts him from minute 1 against Milan. In the
exactly.
For the counter, that logic. Yeah.
For the counter against Milan, I guess. But yes, guys, that's it for this episode. We do apologize because we have promised you that question segment episode, which is something that we've been doing recently. Instead of cramming it into one episode, we like to do separate episodes addressing our listener questions. It's not something that we like avoiding or ignoring, but the schedule has been so tight, and with Christmas as well, games happening over the festive period, it's just been much tougher for us, especially since we're humans with lives and had to do all of this stuff. It was bloody tough to keep it up, but we will get it out as soon as we can. Can't guarantee a date, but as soon as we can, we will get that out. And don't forget to enter our giveaway, guys. The post is going to be live very soon. If you're listening to this, chances are it's already live.
Yeah.
Go check it out. They are really cool sweaters, and Jake and I have one, and then there's just the one you guys are going to own. So they are literally limited edition, and who knows, maybe will be something big one day, huh?
Yeah, and maybe we'll be mass producing them as well one day. But if you are interested in these sweaters, do let us know. We'll try to arrange something for you, apart from the giveaway, of course.
Yeah, naturally. At embroidered_Malta on Instagram are the company we are collaborating with. They do a magnificent job. This is a dying art, the embroidered industry. Nowadays you can print, you could do stuff via machine, this and that, but these are a couple of very talented women who do a spectacular job embroidering. Yeah, that's the word, embroidering. So shout out to them. Shout out to all of you. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter. Rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening. We've been Serie Spotlight, and we'll see you all next week.
This is Serie Spotlight.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
The football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.